Hello, folks. Welcome to my channel, Rico's Paradigm. Before I get started, can I please have you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll get my latest videos when they come out. Today, I want to talk about whether the Filipino people indeed consider expats and our tourists as ATMs. The idea that expats living in the Philippines are ATMs is a complicated and multifaceted subject that encompasses historical background, socioeconomic variables, and cultural dynamics. This sentiment emphasizes our relationship between locals and expats are shaped by cultural exchanges and economic disparities. Not that Filipinos have a bad opinion of all expats. It captures some fundamental truths about the interactions among expats, Filipinos, and the country's socioeconomic landscape. Economic disparity and expats' wealth. The obvious economic gap between expats and many local Filipinos is one of the main causes of this perception. Expats in the Philippines, particularly those from more affluent nations, frequently lead lives that are significantly beyond the means of the typical Filipino. A sizable fraction of people in the developing nation of the Philippines live in poverty. Expats, especially those from the US, Europe, or Australia, frequently have access to higher income levels through savings, pensions, or remote employment. These expats are seen by many Filipinos as living a life of privilege, one in which everyday hardships with money seem insignificant in comparison. Because of this relatively strong purchasing power and ability to support an opulent lifestyle in the Philippines while living comfortably on amounts that would be considered modest in their home countries, expats are perceived as having easy access to wealth, akin to walking ATMs. Number two, colonial and historical influence. This perception is also shaped by the history of the Philippines. The Philippines have a long history of foreign influence and rule as a former colony of both Spain and the United States, which has had a lasting impact on how Filipinos see expats. Expat emperors were frequently viewed as strong and affluent during the colonial era, while the native populace suffered from oppression and poverty. The colonial regime's introduction of Western norms and values exacerbated the feeling of reliance on outside money, a cultural mindset that associated expats with material wealth, resources, and social superiority was established by this historical experience. The socioeconomic divide between native Filipinos and expats remains even after the country gains independence, and in certain cases, it even grew wider as a result of economic inequality and globalization. Number three, cultural expectations and family dynamics. The Filipino culture, in particular the emphasis on family and community support, has an impact on the idea that an expat is viewed as an ATM. Families are the foundation of Philippine society, and it is typical for affluent family members to provide for their less fortunate kin. This network of financial dependency frequently includes friends, neighbors, and even extended family members in addition to the immediate family. An implicit expectation that an expat will provide financial support for the family or community may exist when a Filipino marries or befriends one, particularly if the expat seems to be wealthier. Richer people are expected to assist the less fortunate, but these expectations are not the result of malice but rather of cultural norms. Sharing and helping others is a deeply ingrained cultural practice for many Filipinos, and when applied to an expat, it can give the impression that they are a financial resource. Number four, the influence of the media and the white savior complex. The media's influence and its portrayal of expats, especially Westerners, as heroes or benefactors, also play a role in this perception. Expats are frequently portrayed in films, TV series, and commercials as kind people who travel to developing nations to aid the unprivileged. Both Filipinos and expats may internalize the story of the white savior, which could distort the interactions and expectations. In this situation, expats might be perceived as having a moral duty to help out financially or to be more given with their resources. The idea that expats are wealthy benefactors who are expected to share their wealth with those around them is reinforced by the media's portrayal of them as prosperous and kind. Prosperous and kind. The role of OFWs and remittances. Number five. The notion of an expat functioning as an ATM is also associated with the nation's dependence on remittances from Filipinos employed overseas, or OFWs. A lot of Filipinos have relatives who work overseas and send money home to help support the family. With yearly contribution in the billions, remittances constitute a substantial portion of the Philippine economy. For families that depend on these remittances, it has become commonplace for an expat to support them financially. It might be expected of an expat to assume a similar role as a provider if they are married to or dating a Filipino. Due to the cultural expectation of financial support and the disparity in wealth between expats and local Filipinos, it is possible for expats to be mistaken for ATMs. For this part, their partners and extended families. Number six, tourism and scams. The Philippines tourism sector contributes to the idea that expats are affluent people who can be taken advantage of for financial gain. Opportunistic behavior may result from the influx of expats, especially from those who are perceived as having disposable income. Scams that prey on tourists and expats in particular exist in some places, where locals take advantage of the apparent wealth gap. For example, because they are perceived as having more money, some expat may be overcharged in markets, transit, or services. Although not all Filipinos behave in this way, it can support the myth that expats are primarily seen as easy money sources. Number seven, barriers to communication and misinterpretation. Cultural and communication barriers can also make it seem more likely that expats are viewed as ATMs. Misunderstandings can also occur when expats misunderstand the customs of reciprocity and hospitality. It is customary in Filipino culture to share meals, give gifts, and be given with what you have, even if you don't have much. It is expected that this generosity will be returned, particularly by those with greater financial resources. These gestures might be misinterpreted by an expat as an indication that they are being used for their money, but given and expecting given in return is a part of Filipino culture. Unaware of these cultural customs, ex expat could feel exploited, which would serve to further solidify the stereotype. In summary, Filipinos' belief that expats are ATM is a product of historical circumstances, cultural dynamics, and economic inequalities. Interactions that frequently centered on monetary contributions rather than cross cultural exchanges help to shape this sentiment. These preconceptions can be dispelled by encouraging improved mutual communication and understanding, opening the door to more sincere connections that place a higher value on cultural appreciation than financial reliance. The secret is to close the distance between these two realms and promote understanding and respect for one another that goes beyond the concept of financial exploitation. This conversation highlights the importance of continual communication to promote understanding and strengthen community ties while encapsulating the complexity of the relationship between Filipinos and expats. All right, folks, that is all for today's show. Hopefully, you enjoy the show. Thank you for watching. Until next time, bye.